to the relaunch of the steam motor coach number 1, the famous coffee pot. One of a few coffee pots around the world, but this particular one is unique. It's the only operating steam rail car with a locomotive type boiler. So a bit of technical jargon there. So first of all, I'd like to just officially welcome our special guests, and we thank them very much for taking the trouble to come here to Quorn this morning. Mr Eddie Hughes, MP, member for Giles. Mr Sam Johnson, the Mayor of Port Augusta with Mrs Johnson. Peter Slattery, the Mayor of the Flinders Ranges Council. Colin Davies, the CEO of the Flinders Ranges Council, and Mrs Davies. Our special guest, Brenton Ragless from Adelaide. Gillian Wilson from the Visitor Information Centre. Pauline Hedger, I haven't caught up with yet, from the Wadlata Centre. Members of the Pichi Richi Railway, Quorn's townspeople, and other guests. Thank you very much for making the trouble to come along here today. If you wind the clock back 110 years, the Quorn Mercury reported that there was a large crowd gathered at the Quorn railway station to welcome the arrival of what they called the Foster motor coach. It was one of 2 motor coaches ordered by the South Australian Railways. One went to the southeast and the other one came here to Quorn. They were built in England, shipped out, and this particular one was assembled at Tarawi in 1906, and in July 1906 it chuffed into Quorn Station to the welcome from the Quorn townspeople, and what they hoped was going to be a pretty successful little motor. The original intention was that it would operate a passenger service through to Port Augusta and up to Hawker. It wasn't all that good at climbing the hill to Port Augusta, so in fact it ended up running a weekly service to Hawker with mails and parcels through what then was the little townships of Gordon and Wilson, and that connected with the train to Adelaide. So you could imagine quite a big change in life on those towns. You could get to Adelaide in the day on the train, whereas it would have taken a week on a horse. It carried on doing that service for 20 years, and it was also used as the community bus by the Quorn community. And if you look at some of the old photos, it went to Hammond, Carrickton, Orroroo, Port Augusta, and it even, would you believe, made a trip to Parachilna in 1907 for the Parachilna Sports Day. The Quorn Mercury reported that everyone arrived back happy but tired. I suspect they were happy but drunk, but it would have been a long, long trip to Parachilna. In 1975, the Society was successful in reclaiming the coffee pot from Alice Springs, where it had been on display for 15 years. Was brought back to Quorn, and thousands of hours of voluntary labour from the members restored the coffee pot to its original condition. Now people say, how come it's called the coffee pot? Well, quite a few little steam engines ended up being called the coffee pot, but the story with this one is that if there was a northerly wind blowing, it couldn't make it to Hawker without getting more water. So they put a couple of wooden barrels on the front with extra water, and some wag wrote coffee on one and cocoa on the other, and apparently the name stuck. So it's always been known as the coffee pot, but officially it was steam motor coach number 1. Later years it was classified as NJAB number 1 by the Commonwealth Railways, but it didn't get used much. It ceased its regular work sometime in the late 1920s as motor cars became more available and the roads got a little bit better. And it was pushed to the back of the shed, luckily, at the Quorn workshops, where it sat on its own for 25 years. So we're incredibly lucky that it was pushed back, and then it was saved by the Commonwealth Railways and restored. Pichi Richi Railway relaunched it in 1984, ran for a few years, occasional usage, a few little problems. It was never the world's best engine. But it's now been set aside for the last 10 years. So today marks the relaunch of the coffee pot back into regular service on the railway. So thank you very much for coming along. I'd like to ask Brenton Ragless if he'd like to officially relaunch the coffee pot back into service on the all-volunteer Pichi Richi Railway.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a very good morning. A beautiful morning here in Quorn in the stunning southern Flinders Ranges. And what a thrill and a pleasure it is to be here, and an honour to be here to officially launch the coffee pot here in the year 2016. Hard to imagine, more than a century ago, this tiny little locomotive and the massive crowd it continues to draw 110 years later. Absolutely incredible. Like I said, a real thrill and a pleasure to be here, both in my capacity as Channel 9, but more specifically as a passionate enthusiast and advocate for the rail preservation scene here in South Australia. Small in stature, but a huge reputation, internationally recognised, and that is thanks to one key word that you just dropped only a few seconds ago, Jeremy, and that was volunteers. This only is here and exists today because of the tremendous amount, not just hundreds, thousands, probably tens of thousands of hours over the years of the society, even those earlier years of when it was running, thanks to the people, the volunteers, that allow it to be in steam for us here today. Literally, there are many that have gone before us that are no longer with us, that have spent tireless hours polishing up the timber, painting up the beautiful Art Deco work on the side, who have made it possible for us to still enjoy this lovely engine here today. So if nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in a round of applause just to acknowledge the tremendous volunteers of the Pichi Richi Railway, the volunteers that have put so many tireless hours of dedication to make sure that this is a living part of history for us to enjoy here today. Ladies and gentlemen, the volunteers of the Pichi Richi Railway. And on that note, all aboard! Steam motor coach number 1, ladies and gentlemen, the Pichi Richi Railway's coffee pot. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks, Brendan. That was great. Now, the procedure this morning is that the coffee pot is going to make a run now up to the workshops. We've invited the VIP guests to climb aboard, and the members who've been involved with the restoration are going to ride on the first trip. As soon as we can, the coffee pot will come back, and it will then be running public rides on a shuttle basis for the rest of the day.
Yeah, well, behave yourself. lowered it.
The bottom one's down.
Bottom one's down, calling on.
Yes.
Calling on.
Yeah, just put his arm there.
Dave's looking to get on. Cool. Go right back to the barrier. That'll do, mate.
Is steam locomotive, what is called a YX. You can see the frame of it there, it's boiler that's sitting here. It was actually beginning to run, 2 years ago, and then a crack developed in the one of the cylinders at the front.
when was she built, David?
She's a 1937 Morris.
Yep.
The railways then, that was a normal car.
Yep.
And then the railways converted it to the railway, like the railway wheels on it, things like that.
Yep.
You probably notice the back seat's very high.
Yeah.
And they had to raise the roof up.
Oh, right.
The reason for that was that the wheels had to come in.
Yeah.
So the wheels are virtually like under your seat, sort of thing.
Right.
No, that's what they've done there. And people ask, why have they got such a high roof on it for? Well, so the snobs can ride in that with their top hats. The hierarchy. No, then you got to tell them the truth then. So, but that's,
Yeah. But I didn't get to go down. We'll go down there because I never got to go down there. We kind of stopped.
Here, you go first.
Thank you. We kind of stopped here. We didn't have this part. This is the only part we had. Here.
Oh,
But we had these carriages in another train.
oh, I see.
See, so it was like this. You would have been fine because you could have had your own cabin. It's the same one that's got the.
Cool.
They've got the cupboards and.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that house. That one must be.
I've been trying all morning for people not to take photos. Oh, there's one with the girl back behind you. Hello, Judy. He's gone.
Trains.
Don't we all? Go first. There you are.
Thanks.
It is.